Okay guys, we are back in the kitchen. It's deer season 2023 here in Missouri. The most underrated cut of meat on a deer is the shank. We got a buck we're gonna clean. Show you how we do it, show you how we break down everything so that you can harvest your own animal and put it into your own freezer without having to pay a big processing bill. It's a really easy process. We've been doing it for years. It's pretty much like a tradition. You know, we hang out, sit around a table, have a good time, grind the meat, package the meat, get the roast, steaks, vacuum seal. We used to do it in the tube bags, but we do mostly vacuum seal now. And we use our pork fat from our GOS pigs. So we use that to make ground deer burger, and it comes out fantastic. So all you need is some simple equipment. You know, like one thing I always suggest is to put out some foil or some parchment paper or something that you can keep things clean, because you're gonna make a mess. I mean, there's no doubt you're gonna make a mess, okay? So I like to have a good sharp knife, you know, a little sharpening steel. Get used to having one of these on a homestead. This is a Victorinox, which I highly recommend buying these knives, even if you just get one. I mean, I butcher chickens with this. I've deboned deer with this, rabbits, everything. So this steel you need to learn how to use. I mean, you need to definitely learn how to use a steel. This thing is super sharp. Keeps your knife sharp. So we also have our cutting board. You're gonna need one of these. This happens to be a Zion's Gate Ranch cutting board. So that's what we're using today. And we use a KitchenAid grinder. Now, one of these days I wouldn't mind getting a better meat grinder, but I gotta say, if you have a KitchenAid, we've used it for 4 years, 5 years, Miranda, 6 years maybe even longer, maybe 7 years, I don't know, a long time. So let's just show you what this looks like. You buy this attachment here, you know, and it comes off. It's very simple. You can buy this attachment called Chef's Choice. They have a plastic or a steel. I recommend this stainless. It's a lot sturdier. If you're just killing a couple deer a year, this thing works great. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get the deer out. We're gonna show you guys how to break down a deer. So we have already harvested the deer, hung it up on the tractor. You see these pictures now. They're amazing. So the deer turned out so awesome looking. Very nice, heavy body, nice meat. Just very beautiful deer. And we're gonna show you how we grind, break down the roast, burger, etc. So here we go. Down here in the Ozarks, it gets too warm. And if you're in an environment where it's too warm, you're gonna wanna use coolers. If you're up north where it's cooler, you can hang deer for weeks on end, you know, at least 7 days. So we use coolers with ice. As you can see, look, this cooler has a whole deer in it. And you fill it with ice. And what you do is you keep draining that drain plug at least once, for sure once a day, even twice a day, even better. Drain the plug, get the liquid out, and just keep adding ice on top. You can go up to 7 to 10 days like this. Normally we do 3 to 5 days. Some people like them aged more. But it works so good, guys. You can have 3 or 4 coolers and it works wonderful. So here's this one. I already took the ice out. Now look at those hams. That is a nice buck. So clean too. I already took the ice off the top. Let's set it on there. So what you have here is a deer hind corner. And so what we're going to do now is take our knife and just kind of get this stuff off the top like this. And see, you're going to see all this silver skin? We're going to take our knife, slide it right underneath that silver skin. You see where my knife is? Right underneath, and you just want to drag it. As far as you can drag it. See this silver skin? It's gonna come off like this, y'all. You want to get rid of all that outer skin. And you're gonna keep doing that until the meat is exposed. Pull with one hand. Just like that. See how I'm pulling with this hand? All the way. And don't get into the meat. Just keep your knife kind of angled up. Angled up. Like that. This is okay right here. This is beautiful right here. So don't mess with this. See what I mean? You could a little bit, but we're going to show you that later. You want to get this white stuff off. So all this sinew, they call it. I don't even know how to say that word. But silver skin. So you'll see you getting a little bit of meat on accident. Dogs love it. So you get the idea. Just get all this off. And you know what also is a good idea? It gets the hair off. The ducks just laughed at me. So you get the hair off, because sometimes hair is a really hard thing to get, especially when you're skinning the deer. You know, this is the point that you really get the hair off the meat. So see what I mean? If there's hair on this outside, you just scrape this off, and see, no hair would be on the meat. You just trim it all the way down, guys. Trim your hams. Okay, this is a heavy deer leg. And now we're gonna go over here, finish it up. It don't take real long. So here we go. See, we got all the outer stuff cleaned off. It looks beautiful. Let's throw it down like that. Now, here's what we got going on, okay? You got different muscle groups when you're dealing with a hindquarter and a shoulder and any type of meat. You're going to have muscle groups, okay? The secret to this is to follow the lines, okay? There's a guy that I know that named Paul Gauchi, who teaches about trimming apple trees. He said, God gave us lines. It's so easy. Just cut the tree where the line is. So I always remember him saying that, and it's true even with deer meat. Look, God gives you the lines. Follow the lines. Do you see these lines? There's lines. See that line there? There's a line here. Now that is a roast right here. They call this the bottom roast or the top roast, okay? It's a bottom roast or top roast. This is the one thing I always get confused. I've been doing this for years. There is a name for it, and I always get it backwards. Is it bottom or top, Miranda? Which is it? I think this is actually called the bottom roast, but it is a roast. So, because I get it confused because it's on the top. But this is the rump roast. This is the sirloin roast here. This is the rump on that H-bone. So, and you got your hock right here, your shanks. I'm going to be honest with you. The shank is one of the best cuts of meat on here. And most guys just grind it. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're very deceived if you just grind those. Because if you cook them slow in a crock pot, diced up with soy sauce, and say you're not a soy sauce fan, do your own, but slow and low, oh God, they are just delights. Okay, guys, it's a delight. Now see what I did? Here's the line. Here's that roast. And there's that line. See, I just barely put my finger through. Now look at this. See how I stuck my finger in there? Now look, a lot of this you can do with your hands. See how I'm pulling that? And then you just cut and pull. See how it's pulling apart? The lines. See how it goes down? The lines. And you do it here too. Just like that. See how that separates from this one? And then you do it over here too. You're going to want to separate that. Which actually this comes out a little further right there. Sorry I missed it. But follow the lines. So see how that pulls out with your hand? And then you can come down here to the H bone, cut it around. Now watch, you can pretty much just pull this off. See that? See how easy that is? And look at that roast. This is your first roast. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna set this aside. This is how you're gonna do every single cut of meat on this ham. You're gonna cut them out by sections, by lines, and get this roast out. Now look at this roast, guys. Isn't it pretty? So what you're gonna do now is you don't wanna cut in the meat too much. We're gonna do that again. You wanna get that silver skin off. So we're gonna do this right here. Wham! See that? You wanna see red meat on these deer. You don't wanna see all that junk. See, all this is dog food. But the main goal here is get all the white stuff off. Flip it over the other side. See that silver skin? That's got to come off, guys. Just take it, take your knife, do the same thing. This is going to be the same thing on every cut. You can almost even see your knife. See how you can almost see your blade. That's what you want. Then you're not going too deep in the meat. See? Cut it off right there. So you guys get the point. Every single roast is going to be this way. When you got these roasts all cleaned up, looking so beautiful like this, all red, no white. Look, we're going to square this off. And we're going to square it off. This will be for grind. See what I mean? Just square it off. And this is your beautiful roast that's going to go into our packaging station. So anything like this that you trim off like this, you get you another bowl here, guys, like this, and that's for grind. Wouldn't that be nice with some taters and mashed potatoes and carrots? It's so easy, it's that simple. We're gonna go on to the next ones and show you how that's gonna work. Now, there is no rhyme or reason. This is a vein right here. This is actually a deadly vein. If you do hit a deer in the back, that would kill it if you got a hold of that. But it's no good, you know, you want that stuff out of there. There is a gland in here, so we're gonna be watching for that. You do not want the glands in your meat because it will taint your meat because it does not taste very well. So we don't want no glands. Trim off anything hanging. This goes to grind. Just always remember, any kind of meat that's not usable goes to grind. So always throw that in your bowl. I mean, if it's just trimmings or pieces cut off like this, you know, just dump it in there. Now the sirloin, there's your rump right here. So follow that line right here. See that line? It goes down. There. And follow that bone. This is your hindquarter bone. See that? Follow that bone. This is the femur bone. Follow that baby all the way down and pop this right there. Tin it there. So get around that bone. And this is what we call the sirloin, but roast or a knuckle. Some people call it a knuckle, because really that knuckle would probably be more accurate. And see, we have all this extra on this side we haven't cut yet. It needs to come off. Do you see this black thing? This is a gland. These things you got to get out. They're nasty. You don't want that in your meat. Tastes like crap. So you want to get them out of there. See, here's your line again right here. It goes right here on that roast. So let's clean this up before we do anything else. When we flipped it over, we got to clean this up. So we're going to follow these lines, just like we said earlier, on the back side. You don't go cutting right in the meat. You know what I'm saying? This is just really what you... If you were grinding it all for burger, fine. But that's not what we're doing here. You know what I'm saying? So let's get this roast out. You see, now that I've pulled this, it kind of rolls out. Like, rolls. There's that bone. You kind of roll this over. There's the bone. You want to cut right along that bone, just like this. See how it frees up when I do that? Cut it at the end. It frees up. You see, it just comes right out, guys. Just like that. Cut right here. Now, wham. Alright guys, so after we got that knuckle roast, or some people call it a sirloin, you can see why it's a knuckle. It's a lot of different muscle groups in there, but this is a very good roast. Very good roast. So what we're going to do is just pull off the silver skin, which is always a must, and that goes to dogs. And then pull off that silver skin. All the way around the whole entire roast until you see nothing but red. Okay, so as you can see, we got that roast. This is one of my favorite roasts out of all of them, because guys, this is so delicious. You can actually take a wrap, string this up, and put it with potatoes and carrots and put it in your roaster. It's very, very good. Or you can cut this into steaks. But I still like to square it up. You see these little steaks it makes? They're wonderful. So we're gonna just clean it up and make it square. You don't have to, you can just left it that way, but I like to clean it up just like that. Just a beautiful little pound and a half roast. So what you'll have now is, since that knuckle or sirloin is out of there, and you know what? Comment under the comments, guys, if you know the exact name for that, because I'm not exactly the best with the names. I mean, I've been cutting them up for years. I suck at the name. So if you know the name, just put it in the comments of what that cut is. The bottom and the top and that knuckle. What is the exact name? I'd appreciate that. Now, let's debone this now. We have another roast here. We have this here. You can attack these however you want. But you got this big old bone right in the way. You know, you can start deboning now with your knife. And you want to get some daylight through there. Follow that bone down just like I just did. See how I just followed that bone to that next knuckle? And it's kind of opening up now. And go around that joint just like I did. See, I just went around that joint. And you don't even need a saw, guys. And if you see that hole there, you can bend this with your hand. See that hole right here? That's that joint. Stick your knife right in that joint and do a whirly turn. Stick it in again if it don't pop out. Stick it in again. Now do your knife the other way and pop that loose. Get it in that joint, and guess what's going to happen, guys? It's going to come right off. See that? The bone. That's why it's called deboning. Okay? Now you can come over here. See how that muscle movement works? That's the joint. That's like your kneecap. So see, you could be grinding away at this, and it just dulls your knife. You know, so then you'll be over here, and you got to, if you dull your knife, you want to hit your steel again a few times. Matter of fact, you just kind of want to do that every now and then. And then get your, see, we're doing the same thing. We're trying to find that joint. There's a hole there. Put your knife in there. Wiggle it around. Get around that joint. And you don't even need a saw. You don't even need a saw. If you know where these joints are, you're golden. Stick your knife in there. Pull down. Stick your knife in there. Pull down. And I do recommend a cut-proof glove. See, that's coming out now. See, it's just that side that's connected now. Stick your knife in that joint. And see it? Boom. Voila! So guys, you have a nice bone, and you can give this to your dog, but we do not give these to our dogs because we love to make bone broth. So what I'll do with these is I'll hacksaw these babies up into 1-inch chunks, like one here, and we'll bag up all these bones, and we're gonna make broth out of them. It's very delicious broth in the wintertime, because you're going into winter right now. You're going to want to love that. So this is the hock shank. Pull that shank off just like that. And so what you're going to want to do next is, since you got that off, same thing, clean her up. Alright guys, as I'm cleaning off this shank, now don't get carried away on the shank because it is loaded with silver skin, okay? Just do the outside because the inside is gonna be loaded with silver skin. That's why a lot of people don't like them. But clean off the outside only. Don't worry about any of those muscle pieces on the inside. Now you're gonna have this chunk of meat on the outside. I always cut it off. And this is your shank that I was talking about that are so delicious on the bone. We're gonna save those. This is very delicious too, but see all this silver skin? It's a lot of silver skin on this. And to be honest with you, I'm just gonna make this in the burger today. We're gonna save the shank. This is a part of the shank. Just get as much as you can off. But you see these lines in here? They are absolutely delicious. Same thing in the shank whenever you go to grind them. So you take your knife on pieces like this, just get that meat off. And then do your best that you can, because sometimes, you know, it's hard to get it all. Now, chunk this up to go through the grinder. Just like that. Throw it in the grinder. This is our grind meat. This will clean up a little bit, the shank, until we can clean up the best we can. Leave the bone in there. You put these in the crock pot, 3 or 4 of these, with seasonings, soy sauce, till they're just falling apart tender. Not like stringy. You don't want them stringy. You want them just like fork tender. Pull these babies out, slice into them. I'm telling you, it's heavenly, guys. It's probably, I heard a chef say one time, the most underrated cut of meat on a deer is the shank. And it's because people don't know what they're doing. It is absolutely phenomenal. It melts in your mouth. So, up to you. You can put it to grind, but we do not. We always save them for roast. Alright guys, so we are back at it. We got the shank off. This is what's called the H-bone. This hip bone, when we cut it off the deer. Here's your rump roast. I don't know if we're gonna do the rump in a roast. I haven't decided yet. It's up to you. Each person is different. You can decide if you want it to go to grind, or you can decide if you want it to go to a roast. Now the rump roast is actually very delicious. This extra hanging off piece, I always cut them in these 1-inch pieces, and you can kind of take some of that off. You could be picky as you like, but I just throw it in there. And like this here, this little rump roast, which is small, I think we're gonna go ahead and just put it to grind. We're gonna just dice this up in about 1-inch pieces, so it goes to the grinder easier. So always keep that in mind, because look up here, when you're tossing this into your grinder, you don't want a big chunk of meat that can't go in that hole. You want to be able to drop that piece right in that hole and think about that size, you know. See, just on that hindquarter, I mean, look, we got several pounds of burger coming. This is called, I call it the eye of the round, or a mystery tenderloin, because it looks like a tenderloin. It has the grains of a tenderloin, and it's kind of hidden between all those muscle groups, and we call it a mystery tenderloin. Now here's why. Now, does that look like a tenderloin to you? It does me. So you can save this one for a little roast, or you can just straight up take it to grind. It's totally up to you. On this one, I'm going to take it to grind because we still got a lot of pieces to do. But you can just make that into a roast, and they're very good. Off to the next one. The last and not least, this big roast that we are going to save. Now that's the bottom roast, I believe. If you have the right term, put it in the comments, because I am confused on that. Now we're going to take it off the H-bone. See what I mean? Just take it off. And guys, guess what? This is not going to waste. You can give it to your dogs, but we're going to bandsaw this and go in the broth. Put that with your bones. Never throw away your bones. They're amazing. Now see, there's still a little bit of muscle group tied to this one. Now see my thumb? I can just kind of push through here without a knife. It's always best if you're not even using a knife. See that? Without a knife. You have one little muscle group right there. You'll take that off. Grind. Part of the... Put that in the grind. Now this would be great for jerky too. This cut here, along with some other cuts that we've already done. All these roasts are great for deer jerky too. But I'm gonna make roasts. Clean it up. See the lines in this? It makes a beautiful roast. See them lines? So we're gonna square it up, just like we always do. Square it up. Make it look pretty. Just not too much, just on the edges. And you don't have to. It's just what I like to do. So now you have yourself a beautiful roast for the oven. Just like that, guys. Next, we're gonna do part 2 on the next video. If you're wanting to know about how to do a shoulder and the back strap, we're gonna go on to the next video. So there is a part 2. Stay tuned.